Do you fear becoming Oppenheimer? P.S. I love your work and Cardano. No. Maybe with some of the work that we're doing in synthetic biology, but not with cryptocurrencies. Will AGI singularity and transhumanism occur in the next 25 years? You know, when I was younger, I was big in the transhumanist movement, the whole H plus movement, and there's still a lot of people floating around there. And to me, it always felt like a really cool, vibrant movement. And there were a lot of great thinkers inside of it because they were asking a very simple question. What if you can upgrade the hardware? What would you do? Where would you take that? What does that mean? So everything else in life, cars, computers, farming, houses, we live for the upgrade. Consumerism and capitalism has trained us to not be content with version 1. So we do version 2 and version 3 and version 4 and version 5. But somehow we're told, well, you know, nature's given you just this body and you just have to accept it. What we've discovered through scientific inquiry and deep inner reflection is the body that we're given is not good for us. And when I say not good, meaning it wasn't designed to maximize our personal happiness, our personal utility, our meaning. It was designed in a collective sense to protect it and survive and thrive in different environments that we happen to have evolved into. And whether we're happy or not, our life is quality and everything's great or not, has very little bearing on that flesh bag that we have. So this is reflected in the fact that some people have dysmorphias or mental illnesses. This is reflected in the fact that some people are born with congenital defects. This is reflected in the fact that depression is a huge issue in the human race. Huge issue. And for the people who suffer from it, it's devastating. It's worse than many cases being shot. It is just as destructive. So the promise of transhumanism is basically saying through genetic modification and cybernetic augmentation and just good old-fashioned good medicine and good understanding of how our bodies work, we can hack ourselves in a certain way to either give ourselves new capabilities or to correct deficiencies of evolution. For example, I just read the other day that they were playing with human cells and they actually managed to take an octopus camouflage and put it into a human cell. So some species of octopus have the ability when they're sitting next to something to change the color of their body like a chameleon does and look like that thing. So they become functionally invisible. And there's super cool videos on YouTube showing that. Well, what if you had the ability, just sitting in a black chair like this, your skin can change. Sit next to another thing, your skin can change. It really does change the whole racial debate. If you can change the color of your skin at will, doesn't it? Things get a little different. The way we view people would be very different. It's the same when we talk about other capabilities. Like I'm very interested in anti-aging. If you look at salamanders or other animals that are like them, they have these amazing, like axolotls, they have these amazing abilities to regenerate. You can chop off an arm, a new arm grows. Well, what if humans have that amazing ability? What if we could genetically modify ourselves to live long periods of time and rejuvenate ourselves on a regular basis? What if we could find a way to fly? These types of things. What would that do to society and culture? There's also equity issues here in that what if that's not evenly distributed? Like the hyper wealthy, like myself, have first access to it and normal people don't. And so the difference between the wealthy and the poor is not just arbitrary pieces of paper. It's now, evolutionarily speaking, you're a different species. Homo supremus. You're just Homo optimus. Homo. Chatus. This, like the basically have genetic advantages, massive biological advantages. So that means your productivity, your intelligence, your capability to compete is better. So actually, the rich get richer at a much accelerated pace. So the difference between the haves and the have-nots gets very big in that respect. You eventually have these cybernetic transhumanist overlords that rule over Earth. Not so good. So that plus the AI component of this idea of extended cognition, where maybe this fleshy brain bag that we have, we can extend our thinking outward into it. For example, when you look at a lot of neuroscience, they say, hey, when you hold devices or you go places, your brain starts treating these things as an extension of yourself, like when you ride a bicycle or something like that. If you do it enough, the brain starts wiring itself in a way that it starts thinking the bicycle is indeed part of you. It's really creepy. So you start interacting with computers, maybe you can actually move your consciousness or your awareness from just your body to another system. I don't know. Who the fuck knows how consciousness works? There's some crazy stuff from Roger Penrose on it. So transhumanism also brings the perspective of this idea of us going from I to we. So instead of just being a person, you could be a node in a collective of cognition. Think about how different the world would be if when you try to understand somebody, you can literally plug into their brain and they can plug into your brain, kind of like a Vulcan mind meld. And then collectively, how much different would society be if we had these capabilities? And people are looking into this. That's functionally what Neuralink is doing in open water. And these other companies are drilling holes in the skulls and putting wires in so that you can read and write, and then eventually brains can communicate with each other. So that's another big component of transhumanism, not just the modification of the organism, but the linking of the organisms to create a meta-organism, a collective consciousness in this respect, which will fundamentally change the notion of what it means to be human in that respect.